pronouns and how to address are is important in their identity. When I don't,
Even in this route of recovery, get to real stories, real stories, real recovery. I am Kat, and I'm on the road of recovery.
My name is Monica Thorpe. I'm from Whitehall, Ohio. I have almost 5 years in recovery. Today, I am a child of God. I am a good mother and a good daughter.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time. If you could start off by sharing a bit about growing up, what life was like.
So my parents got divorced early when I was like 13 years old. I grew up in a very chaotic, violent home. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom tried to, encourage us to go to church. It was a very, very violent childhood with my dad and his brothers. They were all alcoholics.
And did you say you were an only child?
No,
Okay.
There was two of us at that time.
And did you guys bond together?
We did, however, when they got divorced, I went to live with my mom and my sister lived with my dad.
Okay, gotcha. When did you first start experimenting with anything, and what did that do for you?
I was 13 when I first smoked marijuana. I started selling marijuana. It was just a way for me to get outside of myself.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times being able to find that escape when the world is crazy around us is oftentimes a lot of people's introduction, and we find that it works.
Yeah.
So
It was like, for me, that was like the gateway.
Yeah. So could you share your progression of your disease?
So like I said, it started at 13. Throughout the years, I switched side dishes, so to speak, went from pain pills to methadone to heroin to meth, alcohol.
Okay. Is there a story that you can share that really paints a picture of what life was like for you in active addiction?
Sleeping outside, being very sunburnt, dehydrated, just pure hopelessness.
And as that, or how long did that existence of active addiction last for you?
So my life became unmanageable in like 2015.
Okay.
I lost my home. I lost my dad to cancer. So I wasn't dealing with grief or anything. I just kind of turned to drugs even worse at that time. Ended up homeless with my daughter. She's also one of us.
Okay, so 2015 really was when the kind of that bottom, so to speak.
Yeah, I started using drugs, IV.
So as you are, living in this, at any point in time, did you have any interactions with criminal justice or any type of consequence? I mean, obviously becoming homeless is a huge consequence,
Right.
but other external consequences?
Sure. I started boosting, and I got caught doing that to try to support my habit. I ended up staying one night in Jackson Pike, got released, and then it was just a revolving door after that. Receiving stolen property,
Okay.
forgery charge, just out of desperation, breaking into cars, stealing purses and checks.
And at any point in time, did anybody say, hey, this might be a substance use disorder? What about getting treatment? Anybody in the court systems?
No.
Really?
No.
I mean, all of those are so related to
Yes.
somebody with substance. Were you able to pass drug screens? I mean, I'm assuming you were on probation at some point.
Oh, I was on probation. Absolutely not. I did have a public defender once who brought that to my attention, was like, well, maybe you need to seek, recovery. Maybe you need a treatment facility, and kind of put the thought in my mind. Still took a few years after that to even venture that avenue out.
So let's talk about that 30 days prior to you coming into recovery. So what was life like? If you could really help us understand what was going on, and then what happened that you came into recovery.
So I guess the desperation cry for me was waking up one morning with my daughter laying beside me, just smelling cat urine, being in, a really bad environment. And I just woke up and was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm going to treatment, and a dear friend of mine heard about the safe station at the Whitehall Fire Station. And he actually picked both of us up and took us to the fire station.
Okay. And for those of us who don't know what the Whitehall Safe Station is, if you could share a bit about that.
Sure. So I'm not sure if they're still open to help people. This was before the pandemic. You could walk in there and say that you were an addict seeking help, and they would take like all your paraphernalia, your drugs and what have you, and give you a ride to Mary Haven or whichever detox was suitable for you.
Okay. So what did they do for, because you and your daughter coming at the same time, sometimes family members, that can be complicated of placing in the same place if they want to go, or different places. So what did you do?
So they sent me to Mary Haven, sent my daughter to OSU.
Okay.
She had some medical issues that needed to be addressed. And I just never looked back after that.
Sober living.
Mm-hmm.
So where'd you go for sober living?
I ended up going to Lighthouse.
Okay. And how long were you there for?
So I utilized Lighthouse for 16 months.
That is awesome. People
Yes.
should do that more. Okay, so once you got to Lighthouse, you know, you've gotten, what, 30, 60 days under your belt?
Yes.
Okay, and starting to feel a little bit human again,
Mhm.
fog's starting to lift and whatnot. Consistently showering, you know,
Yes.
being able to you have a warm bed to sleep in at night, your belly's full, those things that, you know, when you're in the throes of active addiction, food's not really all that important. Where you're sleeping's not all that important. That, you know what I mean? So those, being able to get out of that survival mentality into non-survival living is, you know, that can take some adjustment and whatnot. So as you were living at Lighthouse, what was your daily routine like? What'd you do to start building that foundation?
So when I first got to Lighthouse, I had to get acclimated into like going to groups every day, which consisted from 9 a.m. until noon. Let me back up when I first got there. So like I sat in the lobby for like 2 weeks waiting to get an assessment because they were like so overbooked, but they didn't want to turn people away. So I just kept like showing up every day, right? Because I couldn't be left at home alone because my other, you know, sobriety sisters had to do group. So
Right.
I was a phase 1, so I had to go to the clinical spot.
Mm-hmm.
In that time though, like I would clean up and I would like help set up the food in the cafeteria for everybody to eat. Lighthouse was really small at that time. There was like 125 of us clients. But it took some getting used to. Like I remember walking to the bus stop one morning and I was like 20 feet behind all the other girls, you know, because I'm so out of shape and I'm just, you know, and they're getting it to the bus stop. But a day, they kept me busy, you know. My days started at 7 a.m. and didn't end till 4 o'clock in the evening.
Thoughts on employment or doing a training program, like that piece of your life? What'd you do?
So a dear friend of mine that I was in treatment with, which is still a really good friend of mine, got me a job at Parkside in their housekeeping. So I was like responsible for like cleaning up the detox part, you know, and just talking to people. And it gave me a sense of hope because I was in Lighthouse and I was trying to encourage other women that were at Parkside to come to Lighthouse. Lighthouse really gave me a big opportunity. I ended up giving my notice at Parkside, and Lighthouse hired me on to be like their van driver to take women to and from their groups and to meetings. And I was the house manager of the Phase 0 program for women that initially first started at Lighthouse on the east side.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And how did you keep your employment separate from your own personal recovery?
That was a little challenging at times because there was like not a safe space for me to like get away from them because we all lived together, right? So in the evenings I would try to go to meetings on the nights that I could without them. Like there was, I think 4 nights a week was required for me to take them to meetings. So on the other nights I would seek out my own meetings and go to them.
And building your own support system, because it, you know, when you're around folks all day long, you're driving meetings and that kind of stuff, it's easy to, you know, build that as part of your support, but you need to be able to find people that you can lean on. So how is that part of the church? And
part of the church, part of the React. You know, I work in recovery still today, so I'm a lead counselor at Forward Health, and it's like my recovery has to be separate from work. So I have to constantly be seeking that and building my own community. So
absolutely. So, so you were at Lighthouse for 16 months, and then being able to make that jump or leap into your own place. Talk about that.
So I couldn't be in the recovery housing piece and utilize a CDCA. So I had to start saving money and like venturing out in that aspect of things, of like making sure I didn't have any old bills that were past due, paying off my probation fees and what have you, just trying to take care of some stress in the long haul. So I ended up getting me a little 1-bedroom apartment up north in the ghetto, but I could afford it.
Yeah.
And Lighthouse again gave me the opportunity to utilize my CDA and become a case manager. So yeah, it was
excellent.
It was amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So starting out as a CDCA, so if you could talk about your employment path and education, how you have worked yourself up to being a lead counselor now.
Yeah, that's been a challenging journey in itself. I started out, like I said, as a case manager, just helping women in housing. We would go inside the houses and make sure they made it to their appointments and make sure they're keeping the house clean and what have you. I've been able to move up career-wise very quickly, right? And I think just half of that was just suiting up and showing up. My work ethic has always been a little alcoholically, as they would say. But yeah, so I worked in the case management field for, I think it was almost a year, and then they promoted me to housing coordinator. And I got to work alongside some people that that always inspired me on my recovery journey, because I was a client that came through there, and now I'm an employee, and I'm building these different types of relationships with people. And yeah, it's a great opportunity. So your CDCA is only good for the 10 months, the preliminary. So I purchased the second part and completed that. I'm grateful for every opportunity that Lighthouse had given me. But being in that position it was like I was a disciplinarian, and it was like, instead of clients liking to see me come around, they're like, oh no, here comes Miss Monica, like, who's in trouble? And that kind of weighed on me a little bit,
I do.
I didn't get in the field to like not be happy. Was grateful for the opportunities that Lighthouse had given me. However, it was time to do something different. So I gave my 30-day notice and became a case manager at Forward Health, which is out in Groveport. It's an all men's treatment facility.
Okay.
Moved up quickly there. Was only a case manager for a couple months, and they offered me the clinician role. So today I get to run a 3-hour group every day, and I get to meet with clients individually. It's not even like a job to me. It's like I'm walking in the purpose that God has given to me. I love everything about it.
That's awesome. That is so very cool. So how does the REACT team then play into your story?
Okay, so REACT has taken a lot of my family members, right? So there's, in the beginning, when we talked about my childhood, it was just my sister and I. My mom had gotten in another relationship and had 3 more kids. All of us were out there using together at some point. And they have utilized REACT to come get them and take them to treatment. While I was working at Lighthouse, I called REACT to come help me with my brother. He had used fentanyl and was having some type of seizure, and I couldn't get him like awake or aware of what was going on. So they came and helped me and took him over to the hospital. And a dear friend of mine works for the REACT team that I went to high school with. So her and Amy came over when I was still in sober living and was like, well, we would like for you to be part of our alumni for the REACT team. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that look like? What's that consist of? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, just being part of our monthly events. So every month, the REACT team sponsors and pays for all of the people in whoever wants to come, right? All in recovery are welcome. We do an activity and they provide food. So once a month, like in October, we have like a chili cook-off for all the firefighters, and they They make the chili and they provide the chili. We have a chili contest and we decorate pumpkins. It's just a good way to build
Yeah.
relationships out in the community.
Right.
And it's a safe place for someone to go once a month.
Right.
You know, so there's not many events that I do miss. You know, I
Right.
attend most of them.
Yeah.
And I also invite a lot of people.
Very cool. So, as a person who has family members who struggle with substance use disorder, what do you do to take care of yourself?
A lot of self-care.
What does your self-care look like?
Right. So that varies. You know, for me, it's having a connection with God and doing my Bible studies and having good, solid people in my life. Taking care of me. You know, if that even just looks like sitting on the couch for a couple hours in the evening time just to like unwind and unplug, because there's so many other people's needs that I'm taking care of every single day. I have to be careful to make sure that I take care of mine as well. So, you know, pedicures, spray tans, getting my hair done, you know, eating good food, resting properly, you know, which may not seem like self-care, but it really is in hindsight, because I never used to care about taking care of myself.
Right. It absolutely is. So, as part of that, the you know, family members that you know personally where they've been at, you've felt that same desperation and pain that they're struggling with, and being able to take care of yourself. Where's that line of being able to help but not enable for you?
So that's a good question. I have had my siblings like reach out to me and ask me for money, or, hey, can you cash at me? No, I will not do any of that. What do you need? I'll go get it for you. And let me provide you with some resources, right, that can help you. And in the beginning, that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
However, there again, it's like I have to take care of me. And if I'm constantly like pouring out of my cup and pouring from an empty cup, it's just not going to work. Right.
Well, and you know, the first time that you tell somebody, no, I'm not giving you cash, but yes, I will get you dinner, and then you do it a second time and a third time, it gets easier of being able to have those boundaries in place. And then I feel like people also learn then that, no, you're not going to give them cash, but if they need a meal, you're the person to call.
Absolutely.
And whatnot. And when they have those moments of, you know what, I want something different, they know that if they call you, you will help them. So on a daily basis today, what do you do to maintain your mental, physical, emotional health?
For me, I just need to decompress on days that I do get off of work, like especially when it's a chaotic day. So I just try to be patient with myself, because there's still a piece of me where it's like I have to be on the go all the time. So I have to be okay with just sitting still. I recently just met somebody, so first time I've really been in a relationship, committed relationship, in recovery. I've kind of just sat back and just, you know, valued my worth a little bit. So I recently just got engaged. And
Congratulations.
You know, thank you.
How has recovery helped you heal your relationships?
So sometimes to, especially when your family is like dysfunctional, it's hard to navigate through some of that sometimes. 2 out of the 4 of my siblings are now in recovery. So that's gotten easier, right? Because, you know, when we get some clarity, we all kind of heal. And I'm grateful that I have the ability to feel today, to be able to have difficult conversations. They may be uncomfortable, but they're definitely worth having.
Yes. And what does resilience mean to you?
Never giving up.
Absolutely.
No matter what the situation is, I just don't give up. I just show up.
And I think people with substance use disorder have a unique tenacity for never giving up.
Yes.
I mean, and I think some of that probably got taught to us during our active addiction of not giving up.
Right.
And now we can take that and use it for good, because we have that drive.
Yes.
What are you grateful for today?
Today I'm grateful that I have God in my life. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I have every day, and relationships that I've built within the community. My home church, my Lost and Found ministries that I do on Friday nights, which is like bridging the gap for people trying to like rebuild their relationship with the Lord in recovery. It's not like a 12-step or anything. It's just like coming in and sharing your testimony of like the goodness of God in your life, and you know what you've came from to where you are now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Where do you, is that at a church or?
It is. It's at my home church. It's at Collision in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Friday nights at 6:30.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So you've gone from living on the streets to building a beautiful life, getting engaged, having a career that you love. What other hopes do you have for the future, or goals, dreams do you have for the future?
I would love to start my own faith-based sober living program for men and women, and I'm currently in the works of trying to make that dream come true.
Very cool. That's awesome. So we all have struggles, in recovery and whatnot. Not every day is rainbows and sunshine. So when you're having a tough day, is there like a message of hope that rings true in your mind, or a verse that you lean on when you're having a bit of a struggle that you can share?
Bible verse, Psalms 46:10, be still and know that I'm God.
Well, thank you again for taking time out of your beautiful life to share your story. It's one of inspiration, and congratulations on the upcoming nuptials.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
When I don't
Even if there's not a recovery, get to real stories, real recovery. I am Kat, and I'm on the road of recovery.